So you've picked a race. You picked a race that you think would be so cool and fun to players, that you think would be engaging to players. Next, we come to the best part, the classes. The race is what sort of person you are, and you get a few racial traits and abilities from this, but the class is how you fight and what you do, and this is pretty much 80% of your character in terms of the mechanics. So you really have to pick a choice that you really think would be fun and engaging with to play, because as I said, you could be playing over 2 years, so you really have to pick right. So I'll go through these. The difference between some of these classes is you've got more support classes, you've got more innate spellcasting classes, you have more offensive classes, and some of them are just a little bit variant and in the middle there. So I'm going to go through these classes with you, and I even might just quickly go through some of the subclasses, or you know what, I won't even do that. I'll just go through these classes, and then whatever class sounds good to you, when we come in person and we talk about what sort of classes you want to play as, then I can go through the subclasses. And because you don't just pick one class, you pick of what type of thing that class you want to play as. So I'm going to start off with, this is hard to do, Barbarians. So Barbarians are the toughest. They have the most health, and what Barbarians are is they are tribesmen, not always tribesmen, but mostly tribesmen that don't wear armor, and they wield big, great swords and axes and heavy weapons. What makes the Barbarian interesting is they have this ability called Raging. Raging is when they go into a primal fury and anger, and what this does is they can do more damage. They become resistant to a lot of different attacks, and it just makes them even more of a beast. So Barbarians are so cool in that respect, and like I said, they have the most health out of all races. They're the toughest to bring down, and they're just badass, pure badassery. Next, you've got the Bard. This is a personal favourite of mine. So in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, music isn't just music. You can control music and manipulate music to create magic. Bards are the jack of all trades classes. They are dexterous and charismatic, so they are very good at talking to people. They can cast spells. They can do a little bit of fighting as well. But their main thing is inspiration. So inspiration is when they can play a song or a little tune or whatever they want to do, and what that does is they pretty much make their allies perform better in combat or by just doing anything in the world. In terms of role-playing, they are some of the funnest people to play as, and they can do a little bit of fight. Like I said, they can do a little bit of fighting, a little bit of spell casting. Very jack of all trades. They're also very skilled, very, very skilled. Next, you have the Clerics. Clerics are are one of the religious classes. They kind of get their abilities depending on the sort of god they follow. So clerics have these things called domains, and domain is pretty much what sort of god you follow, and you get abilities based on that. So, for example, one of these domains is the knowledge domain. So if you worship a god of knowledge and intellectualism, you would get abilities based off knowledge and intellect. There is war domain, so you might follow a war god, and you get abilities based on, heavy attacks and being more powerful. Clerics are primary spellcasters. They're natural healers as well, but they're not just good for healing, they are worthy of fighting as well, so they're decent warriors as well. They tend to wear heavy armor, and they tend to wield shields. You can diversify your clerics up, but that's naturally what they do. They are primary spellcasters, and they are capable warriors as well. Druids are next. Druids are your nature spellcasters in this game. So a lot of their spells revolve around nature. Their spells can entangle people, poison people, they can throw ice at people, do all sorts. What makes the druid so interesting, that their kind of like their primary ability they get is wild shape. They can transform into animals. What that means is you can the lower you are, you transform into smaller, less fighting animals, and the more powerful you get, the more powerful animals you can transform into. What's really cool about the wild shape is it makes the druid sort of a tanky class, because if you lose all your hit points while you're in wild shape mode, you revert back to your normal form. So you actually don't take any damage in your normal form while you're in wild shape form. So that's what makes them really cool. Your fighter. Fighter is the classic Dungeons and Dragons class. They are the people who are good at fighting, plain and simple. Whereas a barbarian is like naturally tough and just can rage and recklessly attack. Fighters are more skilled and are more tactical in their fighting. They more know weapons and how to use all sorts of weapons. But they sound kind of boring, but they can be really interesting. You can choose a fighting style, so you can like make a really distinct fighter. So you can be more of a defensive fighter. So you get extra armor. You can be a dueler, so you can have dual wield weapons. You can have archery. You can be like an archer and have bonus attacks to your archery. So you can really do a lot with fighters, and they also get a lot of extra attacks as well. So that's what makes them really cool. Next, you have someone that's really cool, the monk. The monk are your martial artists. They are quick, dexterous, but also very, very wise people. They you can do a lot of martial arts along with like weapon attacks, and when you get more powerful, you can start doing really badass stuff. You can catch arrows and flying objects in midair. You can run up walls, all that sort of stuff. What pretty much powers their abilities is something called ki. And ki is pretty much points that you can spend on doing more sort of badass stuff with your monk. Natural martial artists, not to be understated. They're really cool. Next, you have your paladins. And paladins are what I like to think of as the inverse of clerics. Whereas clerics are capable warriors and primary spellcasters, I would say that paladins are primarily warriors and capable spellcasters. I hope I didn't just say that again. Whatever. They're very tough. They wear like really heavy armor usually, and they can imbue holy magic into their weapon attacks and make them even stronger, which is really cool. They also dabble in a lot of healing as well, and they tend to be more missionaries, and they like to they're more out in the world to spread the word of their god. They're very, very righteous. But yeah, very, very popular sort of class to be as a paladin. Next, you have your ranger. Rangers are warriors that are also trackers and survivalists, and they really aren't a huge fan of civilization. They are more at home in the woods, away from stupid human beings. They have a lot of their abilities can revolve around a lot of tracking and survivalism. They have things called favorite enemies, which is you can choose a favorite enemy, which is like a dragon or a celestial or a fiend or an animal or whatever, and you do extra damage against those sort of animals. They're hunters, primary through and through. Like the fighter, they also can choose a fighting style, less options, but still they can do wielding. They can do defense, archery, whatever. So that's what rangers are.